Just wanted to look at the adopting the agenda as the first agenda item, and we have an addendum 5B8, which is the Caribou Town Hall meeting for Slave Lake. Any other additions or changes to the agenda? No, that's under 5B8. It'll be under administration. No other changes. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda from Debbie? All in favor? Carried. And moving on to our scheduled delegations, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our new, almost renovated council chambers. Coming soon. Yeah, it looks kind of funny now, but I'm sure it'll be great once it's all done. And to start with, we have the RCMP to be our first delegation. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's the button there. Perfect. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I've met a few of you already, but those who don't know me, my name is Warren Wright. I'm a staff sergeant with the RCMP. I'm the detachment commander in High Prairie and Fost. I have to say, and Fost. I have with me Corporal Brent Lawson. He's our unit commander for the enhanced GIS drug unit in the High Prairie detachment. So he was going to say a few words. He's I don't want to steal his thunder, but this is his second time here. That's right, yeah. He's a familiar face for sure. So just a couple words about myself you didn't read about in the newspaper. I don't know, maybe I'm just seriously just repeating myself. I think Dawn has heard this a couple times too. I am very much, I guess, a veteran of the RCMP. I've been with them for 25 years now. I know I don't look it. Thank you. High Prairie is my 8th posting, and well, no flies on Fox Creek, but it was definitely a nice move for us. My wife Maud and I bought a house in the east side there of High Prairie, and we love the town and the community, and the detachment's been fantastic. I started September 25th, so I've been here for about 3.5 months, 4 months. Our detachment, we have 20, including myself, we have 22 members, and we have 5 support staff for the High Prairie component. We have 5 detachment members in Fost and 1 support staff there, and I'm responsible for both detachments. It's not terribly unfamiliar territory. I've been a detachment commander for 4 years, and but of course, getting back into, I guess it's just more people to supervise, right? But it's been a great adjustment, and I've really enjoyed it so far. One of the big questions, can I just jump right into it? Absolutely. One of the big questions that's currently come up with regards to the High Prairie detachment. I mean, the first was, when is the detachment commander getting here? Because, we haven't had anybody full-time since Myron Friesen. And by the way, he's retiring on Friday. Yeah, 28 years. So I got here. Then the next question was, well, when is the corporal getting here for the drug unit? And he's here. And he's been here since November. And then the third question is what about the dog man? When's the dog man getting here? Well, I found out recently that he has sold his house in Fort McMurray, and that he is going to be starting in the first week of February 4th. But there was a little bit of a problem. We were told that he isn't actually going to be living in High Prairie. his own personal reasons, I guess he has chosen to rent a residence in Peace River. I brought my concerns forward about his choice of place to live, I guess, through my management in Grand Prairie, and expressed to them that I thought that because the position was here in High Prairie, that the expectation would be that he would also live in High Prairie. They had the same sort of reaction I did to hearing that, and they pushed it forward to Division in Edmonton, and Division has been chewing it over. The decision for him to live in Peace River really has nothing to do with me. The dog member does not report to me. He's not one of my people. He's in a completely separate sort of silo, a management or reporting structure. But he does have an office in my detachment that he can use. Without getting into the history, which kind of predates me, in terms of the struggles that the town and the county and had with trying to get the position back here in High Prairie. The position itself is unique because his sort of geographical area of responsibility isn't actually the town and the county. It's actually the northwest corner of the province, because they're spread out so wide. Like there could be maybe, aside from Fort McMurray, there could be maybe 4 PDS members between St. Paul and Grand Prairie, and I guess there's one up in High Level that kind of look after the whole north belt, north of Edmonton. So they have a large geographical area that they all kind of look after, and some of them kind of cover each other off. It's not unheard of to have the high-level member come down here to do his work. So they kind of work out of their trucks, out of their Suburbans. What we were hoping, though, I think, was that he would live here because we would know that every night he'd come home. And so he'd be very, very handy to the community if we needed him on a very short notice. So I know it's disappointing to everyone. It's disappointing to me and my staff. But there's really nothing I can do at my level. That's not to say that if the town or the county would like to address it with the RCMP, they are certainly more than welcome to and express their concerns.
And just, and I know it's not your decision, but I know it's been, our council and the county had spent quite a few years lobbying and working to get that position in High Prairie. And then, as we were talking, it feel a little bit backdoored that all of a sudden now, the dog handler position is in Peace River where they sort of wanted it before, right? And so it just seems like a sleight of hand movement there by, and so I'm sure, I haven't talked to the county yet, but I am sure that we will be bringing it forward and lobbying to see him live in this location.
And I understand that. I can't even predict what the outcome of that would be. I know that the member did not buy a house that he's renting, so I don't know if at the end of the day, if the RCMP can go to him and say, no, you will be living there. I just don't know. But I certainly welcome you to write those letters and contact K-Division and let them know how you feel.
And we will be.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, Debbie.
Was the posting for High Prairie? We did actually already lobby, right? We've gone to the RCMP, sort of your bosses, and then we've also gone to the provincial minister of justice. And where does Sweeney fit in? Where is he? Is he
Sweeney is the ADM. He's the Assistant Deputy Minister.
right? So we've had lots of conversations in the last couple of years because it was taken from High Prairie and put in Peace River, right? So sort of, because there was a fellow that was here, and there was a lot of history, and in the end, the position got moved to Peace River because the fellow that was replacing somebody had a girlfriend in Peace River, is sort of what we were told, and he wanted to relocate to Peace River. He said he called High Prairie undesirable, and he said Peace River was more desirable, and that became a bit of an issue for us. We ended up having the opportunity to talk with those that were making the decision, and saying, expressed our disappointment in making that move or allowing that to happen. So we worked for the last couple of years on making that move back and seeing if we can address that. And we were told it was approved for High Prairie, and that change was made, and the posting would be for High Prairie. So when somebody applied for the position, it was a High Prairie posting, I thought. So was that incorrect?
Well, the way it works is, like when I applied for the detachment commander spot, and when Brent applied for his unit commander spot, it was unique to High Prairie, so that we can't live outside of 40 kilometers of the center of High Prairie. Like, we live in the county as long as we're within 40 kilometers of High Prairie. And that's kind of the rule of thumb. It's policy, actually. It's policy for us, right? But we're considered to be general duty. So we're kind of in that silo of general duty. With him, because he's a support service, my understanding is even though they say it's High Prairie and his office is my detachment, that they have more latitude in terms of where they can live and respond to, because they're actually working not necessarily out of the office, but they're working out of their vehicle. We work out of our offices. He works out of the vehicle, and I realize it's a play on words. I don't know, going back to the posting, and I speculate that there was no, perhaps maybe when the posting went out for the position, that there was no geographical designation saying that you had to live within 40 kilometers. And I think that police dog units just have a greater latitude of where they can live, because their detachment area isn't as small like ours. It's quite a large corner of the province. And I mean, that was addressed by me, that very same question was addressed by me through Grand Prairie and to Edmonton, in terms of what does policy say in terms of where this person has to live in relationship to their posting or their office. So they were going to look into it, and they were going to get back. I don't know if they're going to specifically get back to me, but they were definitely going to look into it and find out the answers themselves. So.
I have one more question about just
and we brought this forward as well, and I was told by other members and other past drug members that said that without the dog here, it's not going to be called as often, because the time factor involved, and if you need it in a Tickamigger, Whitefish, or Drift Pile, if it's in Peace River, there's so much, it's not as handy, so it's not being called. It's not being used as effectively as it would be here, and the number that we had more cases, like there seemed to be a greater need in this area than in Peace River, but I don't know if those were just one-off conversations, or if those were statistics that like if they were actual real statistics. Like, are we going to see that we're not going to use it as often because it's not going to be handy? And then we're going to suffer for it.
We haven't had a dog here for how many years?
it's going to be
3?
3 years. The majority of my members have less than 3 years here. So they're not used to having a dog around. So really one of the sort of main, what do you want to call it, goals, initiatives, ideas, is to have the members call that dog man out more often, because they're not used to having one here. I mean, our closest dog is Grand Prairie. And if Grand Prairie's not available, our closest dog is High Level, right? So, I mean, Grand Prairie, time he gets called till the time he gets here, would be under 2 hours. and high level would be more like 5. So to have somebody in town, it'd be practically instant, so long as they were here. Or to have them in Peace River, that's an hour and 20 driving normal, right? So in an urgent sense, probably an hour. Or they go cross country to a Atikamekw, right? So it's just a matter of having that dog man show up to his office and meet all the members, and then try to encourage the call-outs and drum up the business, I guess. On the flip side of it, as a detachment commander, I also remind my members that this asset is available and that it should be utilized.
So does Peace River have a drug enforcement? Do they so the town and the county pay specifically for the enhanced policing? Does Peace River have that? Because I thought it was working in conjunction with the enhanced policing. Like, we pay for the enhanced policing, and we get the extra members to sort of help out with
Right.
the drug enforcement.
You cost
and
share
we
for
said
2
that
members.
sort of that the drug or the dog handler position sort of worked well with the drug enforcement position. But does Peace River have that as well?
I don't.
They do have their own GI.
They got GI?
Section,
But they don't necessarily work hand in hand per se. The dog has various jobs.
Right.
A lot has to do with high-risk takedowns, which seems to be more and more prevalent as years goes by. We're doing more and more high-risk. Gun calls in the rural area, not so much in town, virtually none in town, but in the rural area we have quite a bit of gun calls. We had a lot of, when the cold snap happened, the -50, we had a lot of people go missing, and we had to call the dog out. But then when it comes to planned search warrants and kicks, depending on the risk assessment, we'd call the dog in to assist, depending on the risk assessment, but not in all cases. So they're certainly there to help everyone, but I think that they would be more of assistance. I'd say the majority of their assistance is to the general duty members, not the drug members.
And I'm going to move us along.
Okay.
We've got, and we haven't heard yet from,
Brent Lawson.
thank you.
some of you may know me, some probably not. I was here, originally stationed here, we've been about almost 7 years ago. Was here for 5 years. I worked High Prairie, Atikamekw, and then I went into the drug unit before I left. After that, I went to the Hinton drug unit there, and I spent 1.5 years before coming back. As of late, just over the last, knowing what's happened over the last year with Paul and stuff and what's happened with him, there's some stuff that's been kind of put on the wayside because of that. And just, I'm in there now trying to clean it all up and getting back to where we should be. So.
They did a kick last night. I can say that, right? They did a kick last night. They got just under 2 ounces of coke, bunch of weed, and some cash. So
What is a kick?
they executed a search warrant at a urban residence.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, cop talk.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a real kick, though. I don't think.
Excellent.
Yes, so.
All right, so any other questions? Are you fully staffed now?
We are currently fully staffed. Yeah, currently fully staffed. Glanville is looking like he's leaving soon, which is a loss to our detachment for sure. Perhaps moving on to greener pastures in the spring down south. We're still trying to identify somebody to backfill that position that he's currently occupying. But other than that, I mean, constables come and go, we get recruits, that kind of thing. But we are fully staffed, which I'm thrilled about. I brought my business card, which I can hand out. I don't know if this is an opportune time, just so everybody has it. My cell phone and my email address are not on there, just because. That being said, though, however, if any of you give me a call at work, I'm sure I can probably give you both over the phone. So. Was there,
Wonderful. Yeah.
was there anything else from council? Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Oh, I could tell you, I'm gonna tell you this.
Is the press here? No?
He's the press.
How you doing?
Well, you got Chris's
Tomorrow,
attention.
tomorrow, we're laying a charge on an individual for the arson in town.
Oh, okay.
I can't name names because the information hasn't been laid. I expect it to be laid tomorrow.
Oh, that's,
But we're very excited about that. So,
that's good news too. Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of hoping that maybe it would have been laid so I could actually name the name, but
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
And we will do a press release on that, both the drug search warrant and the arson charge. Okay.
So thank you very much for coming down
Thank you.
and for the good news. And we will work on the bad news.
And welcome back.
Yeah, and welcome back, yeah. All right, and our next delegation is from Axia. So we'll get you to,
Is it okay if I sit here?
Absolutely.
I'll try and make eye contact.
sure. Someone in the back might not be able to quite hear you, but
I can
it's
yell.
okay. Yeah.
I'm small, but I'm like.
Okay. So yeah, we'll just let you do your presentation.
Absolutely. This
Brian,
is
can you-
for
what's that like?
council later on. Can everyone see?
There we go.
Conflicting.
I just went quiet. I can see perfectly.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. My name is Helen Bigler, and I'm the Community Relations Specialist for Axia. I was born and raised in Langdon, Alberta, and understand firsthand, the frustrations that happen alongside living in a rural area or urban area. So I'm here to educate you on Axia's fiber optic infrastructure model and how it can future-proof your community for not only today, but well into the future. So, first of all, who is Axia? So, our story has always focused on rural Alberta. Our goal is to connect all 429 communities within Alberta to our dedicated platform. So, we allow the most advanced digital economy by maximizing connectivity without restricted speed, reliability, or usage just by using a strand of fiber. So, what is fiber? Think of fiber as a strand of glass cable as thin as a hair that actually sends data at the speed of light. Basically, this future-proof technology offers greater bandwidth to carry more information, faster speed, more reliability, and it allows for cost savings. So this allows for being able to connect to internet-provided TVs, internet-provided phones, and other smart home solutions to basically save costs for businesses and residents as a whole. And I always like this part of the presentation because, just think of the internet that was used 5 years ago before social media, or 10 years ago before smartphones, or just even think of where your community could be in 50 years. The innovation of technology is constantly growing. Just think of, for example, the day-to-day operations of High Prairie Forest Products. They launched here in 1955, and I'm sure their technology has, advanced over the last decade. Just think of, for example, the drones that they use in their day-to-day operations. So that could be used, for effective observation of forest health, using the drones for sales and marketing, or even just basically the safety procedures within the company. whatever that may be, they are uploading and downloading these large aerial photos or videos on a daily basis with this drone. And so with Axia's fiber optic infrastructure, it can actually be uploaded within minutes instead of within hours. So it makes the company more productive, the employees also more profitable as well. So it's just thinking along those lines. And then also just think about how you can age in place within High Prairie. Potentially in 50 years, or if not sooner, just the way that innovation is going within in having great internet capabilities, is having a heart monitor potentially hooked up from your home to the hospital here in High Prairie, or worst case scenario, instead of you having to go all the way to Edmonton, the nurses and doctors could actually monitor your health while you lay comfortably at home in your own bed. So just thinking along those lines well into the future. So basically, if you want to future-proof your community and encourage economic development and population growth, I can tell you that fiber is definitely the way to go. If you have the opportunity to attend municipal conferences over the last couple of years, I can tell you that the message has gone from, what is fiber and why do we need it, to we need this and what's the best way to go about it. So this is where Axia steps in. So Axia's initiative means that there's no capital cost to your community. So basically there's no risk to municipality. We are investing $100 million into connecting rural Alberta. Ideally, we want to connect all 429 communities if we can. So we design and build a future-proof fiber network for your town. So that actually allows every home and business to have its very own dedicated fiber line. And we believe in open access. So we actually will lease lines to a TELUS or a Shaw at a different rate to drive that competition and basically benefiting the consumer at the end of the day, making it cheaper. So what else does Axia offer? So we offer unlimited data, so there's no cap on the data that you use, so you won't be seeing overcharges on your monthly bill. Constant connectivity, so with that dedicated fiber line straight to your home or your business. Symmetrical uploads and downloads at the speed of light, so kind of like I mentioned earlier, uploading large drone files where you can upload and download the files within minutes instead of hours. And it's, again, open access, so again, we lease the lines out to other TELUS or Shaw or whomever, so we have that capability to do so. So here's a quick just timeline of just our fiber towns that we've connected. So we've connected 13 in total, with many more to announce in 2018. And we're looking at 2019 communities that would be interested in our fiber optic expansion. So Axia is looking for a community who collectively understands that fiber connection is essential for maintaining the longevity, sustainability, and high quality of life for their business, community, and residents. So let's just look into some studies. So Vulcan, Alberta was actually our very first fiber town that we launched in 2015. A year and a half later, we commissioned a third-party study to see what kind of results had occurred, and this is the results that we received. So 77% of the residents believe their town is more attractive to new potential residents, and Vulcan even believed they saw a record amount of young people coming back. 60% believe that their quality of life has improved since Axia came to town. I saw this number and I was like, oh, that may be a stretch, but it's the little things in life. It's about watching your favorite Netflix show and not constantly seeing that Wheel of Doom, for example. So it's that kind of quality time that is enhanced in these fiber towns. And the residents saw that they saved an average of $72 a month on fiber-provided internet, TVs, and fiber internet-provided TVs or phones. So that's $120,000 that could be spent back into the Freezing Brothers grocery store, or the auto body shop, or just Boondocks Grill. Hopefully I said that right. Did I say that right? Nope. Okay, I was just like, stop me if I said that right. And then it is, speaking of businesses, 72% believe that their town is more attractive as a location for business. So 5 years previously, there was a 2% decline year and became a fiber town, we actually they saw an increase in 14% for business license application. And so, for example, David Swan is a resident of Vulcan, Alberta. He actually owns a national intelligence company out of all places in Vulcan, Alberta. And he even told us he was able to recruit people to Vulcan, Alberta to come work for him. So that may be the volunteer firefighters, that may be the daycare operators, and that may be more bums and seats at school. So it's crazy to think what quality internet can do in for a town. I appreciate it. So you're wondering what the process is. Let me explain. So you can't really see that there, but first step is it starts with a partnership. So today I'm here to start a potential partnership with the town of High Prairie. So basically what that means is we need to know that your leadership would be on board if we were to bring fiber optic infrastructure to your town. That would mean step 2, engaging citizens. So it's on you, the community leaders, to kind of drive that initiative within your community, because you know best as anyone how your community engages with one another and how to get that Axia message out there. It may be knocking on doors, it may be posting social media posts on, the Facebook pages. It may be having the local restaurant sign up their customers at the end of each meal to kind of drive that expression of interest to that 30% threshold that we're looking for. Whatever that may be, I mean, you're not alone in this. I'm here to think of creative ways to assist you with this, so don't think that you're alone. And then it would go on to the evaluation stage. So that is when our engineers come in, they look at the town, they determine whether it's best to put in the fiber aerial or civil, so on posts or underground. It kind of determines, it goes from there. And then, from there we kind of go straight to the design, construction, sign up, and installation. So here is a quick overview of our plans and pricing. So you can get 25 megabytes for $59 a month, 500 megabytes for $79, or 1 gigabyte for $99. And again, that includes unlimited data, so no hidden costs. So that would be $59 plus tax, and even if you went over your data, you wouldn't be charged extra. Constant connectivity, so you get, again, your dedicated fiber line straight to your home or business. And it allows for lightning speed uploads and downloads, so you can get things done within minutes instead of hours. And here's a quick summary. So Axia is investing $100 million into Alberta, and it will be deployed in communities based on the following 2 criteria. So it is 1, community leadership that understands the transformational benefits of Axia's fiber services, and 2, basically getting your community to that 30% interest through grassroots. So basically my role at the end of this is to determine which communities actually express the most interest in these 2 aspects, and I'm here to assist you if you wish to move forward with this process.
Question?
I'll throw it open for any questions.
Start over there again.
Sure.
Debbie's light's on. Debbie's light's on, so there you go.
Okay.
Oh, it is. Can you see a light now?
I see the light. No, I said light on your microphone.
Oh, okay. I didn't shut it
You were
off
just
last
ready to
time.
go, so.
Jeez. So how many communities already do you guys have?
Yeah, so we have 13 communities that are currently fiber towns.
Okay.
We're probably next to form one in 2018. And then, though, I can actually go back to that slide. It also included the communities that are also considered our greenfield developments. So, for example, we've developed a relationship with Crossfield with their new development where it's called Vista Crossing. So we're dealing with the home builder, which is Dream, and it's basically any sort of homes that are built from last year on are actually all included with Axia Fiber. So here, I'll just go back to that slide. Sorry, it's all the way back here. There we go. Yeah, so there's Forest Heights in Beaumont, Vista Crossing in Crossfield, Iron Ridge in Crossfield. So, and the greenfield developments keep on
No, that's good. So it sounds like you guys have made a change then with the open access, because we've had this conversation with Axia before. Okay. And open access was always part of the platform, but it meant that the same amount that they would charge a resident to sign up, it would be the same amount that they would charge TELUS or another ISP. And so is that not the case now?
I'm not too sure what was said previously or who did the presentation.
It was Jason, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. So what is offered is it is open access. So if everyone's so used to their routine. So if they did want to have Shaw at the end of our line, they're more than willing to do so. But at the same time, that isn't necessary because our speeds are so high. Our bandwidth is so large that it wouldn't be necessary.
But so you're saying that you would have an agreement potentially with TELUS if they wanted to offer that service, then it would be at a different rate that you would sell it to the to TELUS.
So we would figure it out on our end.
So have you done that yet at another community?
No, they actually realized that our connection is so great that they didn't need to have someone on the other end.
So my understanding is that not always necessarily the connection, because it would be the same connection, right? You're using the fiber that you guys lay, right?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't alter the speed, right? But it's just that what they're familiar with, right? So their concern has been in the past, or a local ISP that wanted to use the service, right? Provide the service, and people were more comfortable maybe with, or some people wanted to use what they were normally used to using. So do you have that rate, that what you would charge? Because we know what your rates are for individuals to sign up, right?
Yeah. So that would be our rate, but then we would just deal with TELUS on the other end.
So it would just
I
be
don't have those
open to
numbers.
negotiation, but you're fairly certain that that's at a different rate than the residential or the regular individual rate?
Yeah.
You talked about your plans with no data overages, but you have 3 different rates for 3 different amounts of data. So I don't understand. So obviously you can go over your data plan.
No, so 25 is like
What's the speed?
No, this is a common question.
Right, yeah, okay.
So for example, if you had 5 kids that all had TVs that they were streaming in their rooms, for example, and all of them were watching Netflix, and then also people were playing video games downstairs, and you were streaming the news online through VD Media, and then you had an UMA box because you don't need your landline, and you're calling across seas. Like, maybe that would be the plan.
Right, so you would need a higher speed. Okay, and one more question is about coming into the community underground or on poles, right? So we've looked at this a few different ways, and there's lots of discussion about cheaper to put it on poles, right? But is it a reality? How many times are you going in on poles?
We actually just went in through Pitcher Creek, for example, mostly on poles.
So on ATCO poles, or are they? It was Fortis. And so was there this integrity concern? Did you have to replace all the poles?
There were some poles that we had to replace, but it wouldn't be on the town. We would actually deal directly with Fortis in that circumstance, or ATCO, and we would determine which poles would need to be replaced in a timely manner and go from there.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Anyone?
Okay, I'll ask one. We, in our package, we were reminded that we had put a notice about Axia, and we have it on our website still. And I think one of the questions our administration asked us to talk about was there anybody who contacted you in regard to all the advertisement that we did on your behalf? I'm just looking at our package where it says that the town of High Prairie has had an ad in that said Axia is looking for the next 40 fiber towns. If you're interested in becoming a community champion that Axia can work with, and then we talked about a few different things. Plus, it said that it's still on our website. If admin wants to correct me, that's okay. But I think we were looking to see if there was any results that Axia had received. Any interest at all from our town from when we first put this in?
When, do you remember when you initially put it in?
Mr. Martinson?
2 years ago.
Okay. I will be honest, I'm not allowed to disclose whether or not a community is at 30%, just in case a competitor came in there just like, yes, High Prairie is interested in fiber, and then they wouldn't have necessarily came to begin with, but now that there's that interest, they would come. So unfortunately, I need to keep that information disclosed, but I can say that High Prairie is not at 30%. This is why I am here to present to council again.
And what sort of contract would we be looking at for time frame and ownership of the fiber that would we eventually have any access to it if we had decided at one point that Axia wasn't the way to go?
So if we came in and put in
Say
the
10 years down the way, or 20 years down the way, the council decides, I'm sorry, we don't want Axia anymore.
Yeah.
What options do we have? Because you said look 50 years ahead, so I'm trying to look ahead here as to what options are ahead before we go forward.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to use it. It would be like if TELUS came in and put the lines, you unfortunately wouldn't be able to purchase that. It's the same for Axia. So it is one of those things where we are investing in your community, and it is, it is a hefty investment that the municipality doesn't have to worry about. So we would like to think that it is a long-term partnership, and we'd like to think that we're not going anywhere, or you don't want us to go anywhere.
Good. I just had one, not so much, because we have had this presentation before, as was mentioned, so we're, a year and a half or 2 years ago. And so, but anyways, we're, I think more specifically about our town, we have a SuperNet connection in our building here. However, we haven't been able to connect to it due to the costs of connectivity. When we were at the last AUMA, we were talking with the Axia rep, and they were saying that there might be some change in pricing coming due right around the middle of January. And do you know anything about that? Has it changed? And
Yeah, well, no, that's a great question. Unfortunately, that's not my department.
Okay.
That would be the enterprise department. I'm the residential side of things, so
Okay.
I can definitely, touch base with my team back in Calgary and hopefully get an answer for you.
okay, because we were very interested in seeing if we can get hooked up at least immediately, because we have some immediate internet concerns, especially in our town office. So that would be one.
Do you know who you spoke with?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I think it was David.
David? Oh,
Oh, you got a way better memory. But just I think we're looking at both the Axia option and working with the county and putting in some stuff with them. So I think we have as a council some more decisions and discussions to do on this. But we do agree with you that fiber is the future, and we need to get there, and we need to get there soon. So we are going to be making some decisions fairly quickly on that. I don't know which way we'll go, but we thank you for your presentation, because it was
Can I
good.
ask another question?
Yeah.
yeah.
One more
Sure.
question? Yeah. So this is a fiber option, but do you guys work in communities where you work in connection with a wireless option too? Like do you work with CCI or anybody else in order to bring that wireless, like to enhance the wireless?
No,
No,
well,
not
I
a-
mean, we haven't.
You haven't yet. Well, I had talked to David, and it sounded like they may be going that route. Like their challenge has been when they've talked to me about it, has been the fact that when they capture a town, they lose the rural, right? And that sometimes, like in our case, will be what holds us back from. I mean, it's a great option for our residents, right? If that's all we were worried about was just our residents.
Yeah.
If we want to support the county and the small hamlets around, then we need to have a solution that includes Everybody, right? So then it would be working wirelessly as well, because there's probably no real logical way to put fiber down to every county resident. But then the other question is about the hamlets. So we've got a number of hamlets around us, and this was something that I tried to have a conversation before about. Is there a way to include them, right? Because we've got hamlets that have got populations, say for example, Juicer has a population of 300 in the year-round, so basically through the winter, but they have a summer population that has a lot of homes that are cottages that they would probably be closer to almost 2,000 that they were looking at. Would you be able to connect hamlet to hamlet, and then we'd look at a wireless solution that could work with the county?
As of right now, just to be completely transparent, we are just focusing on towns.
Is there a population that you're targeting?
No, it is just the communities that are interested, and I feel like as AXIA, we feel would be beneficial to have that fiber development to help the economic development for that town.
So you guys don't have a threshold of how many people need to live in that community for it to be prosperous?
No, it's just the people that, like I mentioned on the last slide, it's just the people that actually acknowledge that fiber optics would be beneficial for the town. But yeah, in regards to the hamlets and the acreages, unfortunately, we don't have a solution for that yet. And I know, as Dave probably mentioned at AUMA, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're constantly looking at options because that's an ongoing question that we both get.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions? No? Good. Well, I want to thank you again for coming down. And did you leave a card or anything? Just like I said, we'll have to make decisions, and then if we're
Well, I have, I put together a trifold. I'm not too sure who's the one with. Oh, okay.
yeah.
I did include basically everything that we went over tonight, and then I also included some neighboring communities if you wanted to reach out to get their feedback on being a fiber town currently.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll just turn that on.
Do you drive all the way from Calgary?
No, I Grand Prairie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sybil. All right, you got everything there? Okay, moving on to public delegations. Do we have? Oh, we have. Excellent. Come on down. So just get you to state your name, then you can give your case. Yeah.
I'm Lori Matthews. I'm here tonight as a taxpayer, and I have some concerns with the old Esso lot. Like many residents, I find the old Esso lot to be an eyesore, but taking money from the public purse to improve corporately owned land is an irresponsible use of tax dollars. I fail to understand how the town can afford this when desperate improvements are needed to town-owned property and buildings. At the August 8th, 2017 Town Council meeting, a motion was brought forward by Councillor Gilroy to designate up to $20,000 of sesquicentennial budget to rehabilitate the old Esso lot as a legacy project. Former Mayor Linda Cox said it would be a good use of ratepayers' money. I disagree. Thankfully, that motion was defeated with Councillor Rose Long, Courtley, and Panastic voting against. The same meeting motion was made by Councillor Long, and that was carried, directing administration to contact Mackenzie Municipal Services to designate a park, given the parameters of the lot, with a community garden feature as part of the membership services they provide. Using this service paid for from the public purse to design a park on land not owned by the town is, in my opinion, also a misuse of tax dollars. Another motion made the same meeting by the former mayor and carried, directed administration to contact Imperial Oil to restart negotiations to lease the old Esso lot for a term of between 10 and 20 years for a green space / community garden, and that the negotiations should also include a cost-sharing aspect for designing and improving the green space. By leasing the land, the town would be taking on the responsibility that Imperial Oil already has to maintain the lot, again, falling on taxpayers, the backs of taxpayers. Councillor Long has said that Imperial Oil is willing to sod the lot, and that's great. And maybe they can also be asked to plant some trees on the south side so that the back of the restaurant is covered. This should all be at the expense of the landowner. That being said, I think council should still be pushing for them to remediate the property, or better yet, lobby the provincial government to change legislation that would require more accountability from multi-billion-dollar companies. After the August motion to spend money on the old Esso lot was defeated, I was surprised to see $25,000 allocated for this in the current interim capital budget. Instead of wasting time and resources on beautifying corporately owned property, I encourage council to redirect these funds and resources to enhancing JC Park, a large, underutilized, town-owned area that would better serve the residents and, in my opinion, be a wiser use of ratepayers' money. Please take some time to revisit this and make a decision that's in the best interest of the people you represent.
Thank you, Laurie. Does anybody have any questions on that? So, go ahead.
As I was quoted in that particular one, I believe the motion, and I know that Laurie, you've thoroughly researched it, but I'm thinking the people who are listening online as well. If I remember the discussion right, the motion was made in order to give some negotiation room. It was not guaranteed. It was to use as negotiation money to talk to Esso to get them to enter a contract that would be beneficial. And it was defeated because at that time it was felt that it would be a better use not to use it as a negotiating tool. And so that's why it was defeated, just for the record.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? No? Well, thanks for coming down, Laurie.
Thank you very much for hearing me.
Yes, and we will have to make a decision on that as we move ahead and get going. And I know that the questionnaire that's been up on Facebook has drummed up lots of discussion on the matter, which is good. That's what we want, some engagement with the people. Okay.
I think there's one more.
Oh, one more,
She's
yes.
out there, actually.
Right here.
Are you coming in?
Yeah,
Are you coming in?
Erica's going.
It's quick. I'm just here on behalf of the Traffic Safety Coalition to invite anyone that would be interested in the Vision Zero initiative for the town to come out and hear his presentation. Rob Randolph is coming up from Edmonton to present to us. It's 2 hours starting at 10 a.m. at the Fire Hall
What day?
tomorrow morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, and no other delegations, so moving on to the Public Works Evergreen. Oh, okay. Evergreen Reservoir Tender. Okay.
I think you. Are you sure you want to say anything? Because this is your only chance to say something as a public. You don't have to be eloquent or have things written out. You just have to.
Yeah, because I didn't know if you had to write it up or request to
No.
come in or whatever.
No, just come on down.
Okay. Well, Brian and I have met before. Debbie I've met. Donna I know. Brian I know. And for the rest of you, I'm Christy Limbarton. I moved here 3 years ago with my family. My husband's the GM at West Fraser. And I am from Slave Lake. I know it's a rivalry between the communities.
Time's up. You're slave.
Yeah. There's been a lot of concern. I don't know if you guys are on the High Prairie discussion board. about our recreation board being $400,000 in debt, and I know you guys have been discussing it as well. I'm wondering, has an audit ever been declared or done on our High Prairie Recreation Board? Because, I mean, last year they were in deficit, this year they're in deficit, the year before that they were in deficit. Kind of a pattern going on there, and I'm wondering why hasn't an audit been done to see where the funds are going, where our expenses are going, where we're losing money. I mean, every year we're buying memberships for the pool to help keep it open, even though we don't go as much as we pay. We buy a membership for $800 and some, so that way we have that extra equity going into the pool. We have people coming from Slave Lake, Valley View, utilizing our swimming pool. Now we have swimming lessons coming up, and Red Cross requires you have 8 to 12 lessons at so many hours, and we're offering 6 classes for the same rate as what you would be paying for 8 classes or more, and then they're not meeting the Red Cross requirements. How is this acceptable for our community, for these students who are trying to learn in such a short amount of time the swimming lessons that are life skills? Like, this isn't just, I want to be a big shot. They're learning life skills that they need on our lake. Our lake, the sand shifts. I've lived on Slave Lake all my life. And when you walk out, you swim back because that sandbar's not going to be there. So these kids need these life skills. They need them. Drownings are happening left, right, and center in people's backyards, swimming pools, hot tubs. And now we're going to cut back on these kids and parents who are paying money so their kids can have Red Cross level certification. We used to have a certified instructor who taught Red Cross, Bronze Medallion, Bronze Cross. We had people from Grand Prairie. I met a lady when I was staying at the Peavine Inn. She came from Grand Prairie to get her daughter's Bronze Cross here in High Prairie because it wasn't offered at the time she needed in Grand Prairie. So she came to High Prairie, stayed at the High Prairie Hotel, paid, went to Favorite Little Things. She knew more about this town than I did, and I was just coming to this town. She told me where to shop, where to get the best coffee, where to go, what time they close. I came to the town council and I said, I'm a new member to this community. Do you have a welcome wagon package that can tell me where the schools are, what activities are offered, where to go for extracurricular activities after school, what the library is offering? And it was kind of like, no, but that's a good idea. 3 years later, I'm still here, and guess what, guys? That hasn't changed. I'm sorry, that is huge. You guys have swimming pools, dances. You guys have Ukrainian dance. You guys have hockey, an amazing hockey club with Young Minor Hockey Association that's growing and developing. We have students that are going to Peace River because they're not being able to have the hockey here because they don't have the funds or the means to do what they need to do. We have an amazing little community here, and we have all these hidden little gems in here that we're not advertising, which is simple as saying, hey, someone from our town council going and saying, we want to put together a welcome wagon. So when we have a new person come to our community, we could say, hey, this is where our lakes are. This is where our recreation is. This is the community businesses that are in this community that can offer you different things. If you need help with Alberta Health and Services, or you need help with suicide intervention, drug intervention, or anything else, we've got that here. Or if we don't have it here, this is where you can go to get that help. When you're a new member moving into a community, a small High Prairie, or any community, you need those facilities and accessibility to that information. I'd like to really see it, because I know we have amazing opportunities and things available in our community. I'm a little concerned about our crosswalks. They're not very well marked, and somebody yelled at me, what are you doing? That's not a crosswalk. And I said, yes, it is. It's right here. And he said, it's not marked. And I said, well, there's a sign. And so I'd like to see those this summer painted, because, I mean, you as an officer, I mean, how many people have been hit on this main drag? And that's another thing that I'm really frustrated with, because people are saying, I said, I'd love to see more lighting and crosswalk markings. And they said, well, you have to call Alberta Transportation, because this main drag, I guess it's this way, sorry, is Alberta Road and Transportation, and the one going towards Peavey right past the elementary school is also Alberta Roads and Transportation. So I'm like, but just because they're that, can you not put in requests to say, hey, there's a problem here. We have students, we have little kids crossing. We need to make sure those light switches, when they see the little white man, they don't see the little white man, so they, wait, oh, I gotta go, that little white mountain's not there, the bell's gonna go, and we're gonna have someone get hit there. You know, these are concerns. I work at the elementary school now. I know some of these little ones. They're run bunches. They're beautiful children, but, you know, they just run, and I don't want to see any of them get hurt. I want to see people get home safely, just like you guys do. But we need to start paying attention to the community. Our roads by where our seniors are right there, like I pay a lot more taxes here than I did in Slave Lake, and our back roads, they're horrible. Like, who do I send my rep bill to? Like, my struts and my bearings are starting to go on my brand new vehicle. They're landmines, Brian. You could probably, when you go towards our house there, they're pretty bad. And something needs to be done about them. Even our street going to the elementary school, there's quite a few potholes. The other thing I wanted to mention, because I noticed this in our school, and I said to Mr. Hamden, there's cracks in our ground. I don't know, have you walked the ground where the Century 21 sale sign is? There's cracks like this in the ground that go down, and I don't know how deep they go down because I was walking with a student and I just noticed it that way, and I noticed it in our parking lot as well, and I was kind of concerned because I thought, it goes straight through our parking lot and into the field. Does it go straight across to where the residential is there as well? So I thought I'd mention that to you guys as well, because that's kind of concerning, because someone said there was an earthquake here. I don't know if that's true. Rumors fly left, right, and center. I don't know if that ever happened, but somebody once did tell me that, and so I just want to bring it to your attention. Also, in the 3 years I've lived here, I live in a neighborhood where there's RCMP, and my vehicles have been broken into. My holiday trailer, someone was camping in, and we have young kids who are, growing in this community, and we need these opportunities for them, and we need them to be able to have resources that they need. And I'm hoping that our town council is going to our schools and ensuring that they're getting what they need with Alberta Health and Services, and for families. What do these families need? A lot of kids are raising themselves because parents are having to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs. So I'd like to see, after school projects if we can do. I have a little boy in my kindergarten class, and he goes to the library and he sits there till his mom can come and pick him up. He's 5 years old. And I'm sure the library is probably thinking, gosh, it would be nice to have another opportunity for this little boy to be able to do something after school. So there is a lot of positive in this community. It's a beautiful little community. I mean, the surrounding areas and stuff. I love seeing the combines going through town. Tractors sitting in the coffee shop and the school buses. And I found many people are very approachable, which I really like, because Slave Lake has gotten so overgrown and popularized. People don't communicate anymore. They don't come up and say hello anymore because, well, they're too busy in their lives. So it's wonderful to be back in a community where people are caring about each other and having small businesses and seeing these small businesses thrive in our community. There is a lot of positive, and I'd like to see more of it. I mean, the Welcome Wagon is one step to get that out there so people know what is still available in our community and surrounding area. So that was a lot. I'm sorry. It's 3 years we're kind of just thinking, and poor Brian, every time I see him at the school, I'm like, hey, and Brian, I'm surprised I haven't been at your doorstep yet to say, Brian. So thank you for hearing me out. I did ask the lady from the Axia who did the presentation prior. I said, TELUS did do a pilot project in Slave Lake. They brought the fiber optic in. We were part of that after the Slave Lake fire, and the ground fiber optic that they did do, what they did was they hired a contractor. The contractor came in and they dug. So they dug lines everywhere, so everybody's property was dug up. Then what happened was they came in and they laid the wire, and the wire is very dangerous wire, and sometimes they didn't properly close the lines. And we have children, and children kind of get curious, but you have to be careful because it's very dangerous. Afterwards, they closed it all in and seeded, if you call it that, and the dirt that was put on, well, we'll call it gravel. So your seed didn't come back, but you did have great big boxes. Every second house had a great big box, which depreciated the value of your property. And people were like, what is that? And I always joked and said, oh, that's the coffin for our dog. Or the neighbor's cats. But seriously, though, it did, it was kind of one of those things. It did take a while for it to get in. When it did come in, everybody's TELUS and their internet was a lot higher and faster, and it was good. But I mean, the poll system, when I heard she said that they have the opportunity to do that, that kind of was interesting to see and hear. So anyway, that's my thoughts on all that. Sorry. I'll let you get.
Okay, thanks, Christine. I got about 8 items there listed down, but and I don't know if we can address them all today, just because we've got the large agenda, but I think we can keep them down, and then we'll sort of nail some of these down as we go through. Like we can probably get a couple of quick answers, and in terms of vehicle safety and security, I mean, I think that's happening everywhere. I don't know if we can prevent that, right? Those are, every community has those. It doesn't matter where you go now, there's always some of that. So I don't know if we can do anything more. And like you said, the street that you live on and I live on is probably as safe as any is going to be out there.
Yeah.
Crosswalks, I know we're working with them, and I know the ones in town, I know they've painted them. I don't know if you do them every year, Vern, or every year they paint, the town paints their crosswalks. I don't know, what do they do with Public Works? Or I should say with transportation, sorry.
They usually do theirs, they actually use a higher grade of paint than what we do. And it's got the ones on the highways now, it's got the glass beads in them.
Okay.
And they did them last fall.
Okay. So they've been working on some of that stuff. I know can't speak on the welcome wagon. I don't know what's happened there. Swimming lessons being cut short and at a higher cost. I can't comment on that because I don't know anything about that, but I mean, we've got people on the rec board here that can bring that forward and hear Jeff. Sure.
So just a quick question on that. Like, have you actually talked to the pool manager?
What is her name? One of the teachers, she had talked to him, and I said, well, I'm going to the thing tonight. I said, did you ask him? She said that she had asked him, inquired, and she still hasn't got a phone call back.
So I think that Gayla is our pool manager is...
Yeah, she is pretty good.
Yeah, she's pretty efficient, and I'm sure she wouldn't be running something that wasn't Red Cross certified. Like, she wouldn't be cutting it short just to save any dollar. So I would ask you to address the pool manager and see what's going on. Because really, we don't do day-to-day operations. If there's something that we can direct you to, Hubei. And the pool budget, not the pool budget, but the recreation budget, I'll quickly speak to. Yes, every year it's audited, every year. And yes, every year it runs a deficit, and it will continue, just like most other communities. Recreation isn't to make profit; it's to provide service to the community. And you're not going to see any community that has a pool that's not in a deficit. That's just a reality. And I mean that is a concern. And so the residents, if there was a plebiscite years ago, and you weren't part of it, so I just wanted to draw that to your attention, and then you can pass it on to new residents. People of High Prairie voted. And they put they're paying for their a tax for the pool. They wanted the pool, and they understand that it was going to run possibly at a deficit. Like unless something miraculous happened, Peace River, Slave Lake, most of those pools run negatively, but they run to offer the services. And it's the same with some of the other services, the arena. It's not always guaranteed to be a moneymaker. It's to provide services to the community. So when you see a negative or a deficit in recreation, that is kind of the normal. We're fortunate versus other communities, and I know Tyler quite well from Slave Lake, so you're familiar with And we've talked about Slave Lake and High Prairie and how we differ and the agreement that High Prairie has with the county is a 50-50 share on all recreation, which allows us to have way more recreation than our population allows. Tyler's envious of the relationship we have. Like he says, it's really a struggle for them to even run recreation to the point that it is in Slave Lake because they have a harder time getting those dollars. So we're fortunate beyond, and even with that, we're still running it in a deficit. Like, I mean, we're doing the best we can with the dollars that we have, but yeah, I don't think it's ever going to show a profit.
And one of your last items was the road behind the hospital being full of potholes, and we have identified that on our capital plan. Vern's got it there. And one of the reasons that it hasn't been done was because they were looking at the demolition of the hospital, and we were hoping, because there's going to be some heavy equipment moving in and out, we didn't want to do the road until that was done, because they would probably just punch that road right back out. So we were waiting in hopes that the provincial government was going to do that in the very near future. We haven't heard from them, but so there's lots of things that we're working on and going on. But
Well, welcome wagon is through the chamber. Now, it's not been as probably efficiently run the last little while, just because there's been some changes with it. But maybe you were not steered in the right direction 3 years ago when you asked about welcome wagon, because usually if you bought through a realtor in town, they'll pass your name on to the chamber, and the chamber had welcome packages, which was exactly that information. There was
Information from all the local businesses, and so it was provided by the business community, so you get an idea of you get some coupons and some information from their businesses, and it certainly could be improved upon, and I think it's a great idea for us to improve upon how that's handled, but it did exist through the chamber.
okay, and we've got one more comment from Brian, and then we're going to have to move on. And I really appreciate coming out. It's just tonight's agenda is quite long. And it was great to have public delegations and private ones coming in, but we do need to move on. So I'll let Brian finish it with his comment, and then we'll move on.
Just two very, very quick ones. One, I want to thank you for actually coming out. I wish more of our citizens would actually come out and talk to us. It's very important we do that. I agree with the stoplights, because there's at least 2 in town, but if we can record them. I know that Constable Bloom took my request seriously about one of the other ones, and I'm sure that our other constable here could probably pass it on to the safety group that meets, because they are advocates for it. As for the other concerns, I think it's very appropriate that when you bring it forward, that the committees we are on, thank you for bringing it forward, that we then we take it and then we pass it on to the committees we work on, so that your voice is heard very clearly. So if there's any way you could help us in that by taking some extra time later on and writing down a few of these things and passing it on, we will be glad to represent your views at our particular committee meetings, for that's what we're elected for. So thank you so much for coming in. And I didn't realize who you were related to, by the way. I just thought you were someone at the school, so I apologize for that.
Okay, thanks again. And so let's move on to our December 12th regular meeting minutes. Can I have a motion? Oh, sorry. Oh, Public Works. Oh, right, I'd already checked. Sorry, Vern. Yeah. We need a motion on the tender for the Evergreen Reservoir. Debbie?
The council approved the Evergreen Reservoir upgrade to AGS Mechanical Contractors for a cost of $435,000, including engineering.
Okay, any comments on this? Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
I wish Terry was here. How does it fit into, I'd like to know how it fits into our overall cost projections and how it's going to affect the taxpayer if we increase by this amount of money.
Okay.
I went over this quite intensively with Terry before she left, and she is applying for several different grants in order to cover off some of this cost, but the money is there. She assured me the money is there to do this project. Councillor Stenhouse was there giving us moral support last June when this all came crashing. Yeah, but it all came crashing down on us, and if the town or if council can remember correctly, we were probably about 3 hours from being out of water at that point, because it was just recirculating in the reservoir. It had lots of water, but it was just recirculating there. I would have liked to see more companies bid on this, but only one stepped up. And we had 4 on the water plant clarifiers, and none of those showed any interest in doing this. I know the numbers look funny, but in the sheet from MPE, the $399,000 is inclusive of GST. So when we asked for the $435,000, we've taken out the GST because the municipality won't pay the GST, rather than the $454,000 that is stated on the back page. We could retender, but it's like rolling the dice. You can come in cheaper, but you can also come in more expensive, and history has shown anytime we've retendered, it's actually come in more expensive, plus you pay for the retendering.
Okay, just my thoughts on it is, it's when you have your engineers come in and say that it's going to be half of that price,
Can I just address
Sure.
it right quick?
Okay.
That was the number that we took really quick from what was done in the original 10-year capital plan. The engineers actually did not give us an estimate, accurate estimate. That's what we took from the 10-year capital plan. If you go on the 10-year capital plan from 2013, that is the number that was there. And now that we're 2018, that's the difference. And
Okay. Yeah, and so when I saw that and then seeing that it came in at twice the price and we only had one bidder, I have to say I was going, whoa, maybe we need to retender this. If I've got my roof and I think I got to reshingle it and it's going to cost $6,000 and I get a tender that it's $12,000, I'm going, oh, maybe I want another price on this before I commit.
And this also includes removal of the old pumps and putting new pumps in, which will take that building now, since the roof has been done, all the electrical's been done, that'll take it 20 years down the road. Again, those pumps in there were put in 1980, so you're looking almost 30 years old.
Okay.
So that's another reason why it's a little bit more elevated, which wasn't covered off in the original estimate either.
So when you were saying that the cost is going to be covered, is that by reducing other capital projects for the year, or is that because of different grants that we could likely get?
Different grants, which Terry's very confident that we're going to get. What we took to our CAO Martinson took to the MD was this is part of the MD projects.
So the cost share, the county will be cost share in $1 billion.
Our capital.
But that's taking away from other projects then still, right?
Well, this was a prioritized project, so this is actually not taking away from that project, another project. This is actually was a prioritized project, so it was one that we were going to do anyway.
Yeah, but with the extra money, that's
Yeah.
$200,000 that can go to something else.
Yeah, anytime that you get a higher bid than what the estimate was, you're going to have to take away from something else.
Yeah.
But if council remembers correctly, that capital budget is not finalized yet, other than these priority projects.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Councillor Rose?
I kind of sort of feel the same as far as that we only have the one bid and that it came in $200,000 higher. But I mean, I'm glad that you sort of reminded us that it was just a number on the 10-year capital plan, that it wasn't actually a proper quote at that point in time, because it seems like it's so far off. And even the engineering cost, right, is...
And the engineering cost, I've negotiated that down.
Even this is a negotiated down?
No.
Oh, you've changed it yet?
Yes.
Okay, good. So does this really have to be done? I guess it's a priority project that is a real big priority? Like, we can't wait on this, or?
I wouldn't recommend waiting on this. We're, like I said, if it was to blow apart again, we're in the same situation. And for firefighting backup, that is our main backup. We only have 250,000 gallons at the water plant. That's 1 million over there. So I know it's council's decision, but it would be my recommendation to proceed.
Councillor Danaka?
Based on this, again, I'm thinking to where we were at that point when this all happened and how close we were to being without water. And I mean, you did manage to fix it.
Yeah.
So it was a temporary repair.
Yes.
But I don't want to, I mean, yes, it's expensive, but unfortunately, this is something that I think we need to do now and be firm and say, okay, this is a priority. This needs to be done, because if it's not done and we get into that same situation again, we're not going to be as lucky.
We could not be, yeah.
And where we're at now with the age of those pumps, the fix that the temporary fix that you and your public works did to stem that, so we weren't past the crisis point.
Yeah.
If we wait and say, let's retender, let's do this, let's do that, I think we're at that crisis point with this, especially with this. And I think, personally, I think we need to bite the bullet and go with this and get it done before we're down the road and we're waiting and trying to fix it again.
Yeah, I concur with that. We could retender. I know when we retendered, was it 49th Street? It came in $150,000 more. So you're rolling the dice anytime that you retender. And it could come in $50,000, $100,000 less too, but that's a council decision. But the project does need to be done.
Councillor Stanos? Yeah.
Terry, I was there, and I seen how these guys work 24 hours a day trying to repair this. This is a basic necessity. I don't think we should be cheaping out on this or retendering. This is priority. It was, yeah. That's.
Thank you.
Just one more question, Vern. In the tendering process, do you guys actually call companies and ask them if they're interested in bidding on things, or is it just like you put an ad and if they want to?
It's an ad on the APC, and they also contact qualified companies.
When you say they,
the engineers.
The engineers will contact, because that would be, that reach out might have brought more. I'm thinking.
No, it didn't.
It didn't. Yeah.
In fact, if you remember the water plant clarifiers tender, it's a company out of Saskatoon that got the tender. Any company in Alberta was, I think the next lowest one was $200,000 more than these guys. So these companies, mechanical companies in Alberta, are very busy, and we were lucky that there happened to be a company out of Saskatchewan that actually looked at our project.
Well, we won't be able to send our Alberta companies into Saskatchewan anymore, so they might be looking for more.
Well, now you can. Now you can. They changed the legislation.
Yeah.
Take the ban off.
Yeah. Well, just my final thoughts is, it's so they did go out and reach out to other companies when they tendered this.
Yeah. I even talked in a construction meeting with the company from Saskatoon, and they weren't even interested in doing it.
Okay. So
they looked at both projects.
And so you think this is a reasonable price for what we're doing there?
When you take into the fact that we are replacing the pumps, which are about $50,000 to $60,000 a piece, that's takes in the difference. Yeah.
Okay. Like I agree with everybody that this needs to be done. That's not a question. It's just a question of, I'm nervous when we don't get 3 bids so that we know.
I'm nervous
that we're
about it
at
too.
a competitive price, because I'm a little worried that we're not at a competitive price.
Yeah.
But if others didn't, no ideas why they didn't bid. Eh? Like that's,
not at all. No.
And there was companies contacted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Nova Mechanical that did the lift station on the highway last year was contacted about doing this project, but weren't interested. They're busy.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor to approve the reservoir at a cost of $435,000.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Carried.
Is that a number been adjusted then first?
The 435? For the GST, it was adjusted. The other part with the engineering, take the engineering number, cut it in half. It was a negotiating factor because they kind of dropped the ball with the lift station on some stuff, and that's the credit they're giving us back. And I do have an email in writing stating that that's what they're doing.
That's good. All right. Moving on to our December 12th minutes. Can I get a motion? Debbie, or Councillor Rose.
The council approved the minutes from the December 12th, 2017 regular meeting of council as presented.
Any comments on these? Changes, amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And we have our January 9th minutes. No.
Yes. Well, there is, because we were there. It had to be a recorded meeting. We were here for a half hour. Without a quorum.
We have a meeting, we have a quorum.
It's all
Our policy tells me what I have to do in recording the minutes, so, and they gotta be attached to the rest of the minutes.
So, Councillor Gilroy?
Since I was here, I move that council approve the minutes from the January 9th, 2018 regular meeting of council as presented. And they are accurate.
Okay, any other comments on these? No. All those in favor? Carried. Now moving on to Finance 1, waiving of the fee, page 19. I get a motion on this. Councillor Stenhouse.
I'd like to make motion that council waive the municipal levy portion of the taxation notice and property assessment on roll number 341900 for the months of September the 1st, 2017 to December 31st of 2017, and that council receive the request. That council direct administration to advertise to residents and business owners that beginning February the 1st, 2018, the town will cease paying the municipal portion of taxes on destroyed properties.
Okay, so are you making two motions here?
I think she's combining option 1 and 3
2,
together. Can she do that?
Administration's recommendations.
Well,
Can she put both options together?
it should probably be two motions. Let's deal first with whether or not we want to waive the fees, and then we can address whether or not we want to address changing the policy in the future.
We can let you have credit for both, though.
Yeah. But is it all right to just start with the first
Sure,
one that
let's
says
do
waiving?
the first one.
Okay. All right. Perhaps you can start with why you made that motion. Give us your rationale.
Because of history and unknowingly, we have been waiving these levy portions of the taxes. I don't think our residents are aware of what their insurance policies are or how this works. So they've been coming to us and we've been waiving them.
Okay. That's it. Maybe we can just verify that with our CAO. Is that correct?
Typically, council has waived fees on the municipal portion of the taxes for destroyed home and fire destroyed homes. So,
okay.
In waiving these fees on this roll number, it would be, you'd be following the same format as what you've done on other properties.
Okay. Councillor Gilroy?
I was going to say, we just dealt with one, last official meeting where previous to that, the same thing had happened, where there was a fire and we'd forgiven or waived the municipal portion of the taxes from the time the fire happened to the end of that year. So I see a precedent. I didn't want to say the name, but it is in the minutes from the last one that had happened before. And so I see a precedence in it.
Okay. Any other comments on that? No. All right, seeing that, all those in favor? Carried. Now we can go to the second portion, and do you have a motion for that, Councillor?
I'd like to make a motion that council direct administration to advertise to residents and business owners that beginning February 1st, 2018, the town will cease paying the municipal portion of taxes on destroyed properties.
Okay, so we're looking to change precedents on what's been done and perhaps create a new policy on this is what we're talking about. So, Councillor Rose?
I just wanted to clarify that. Like, should it be that we're going to cease charging the municipal portion?
It's already been charged, so you'd have to waive it.
We have to waive. The council direct administration to advertise residents and business owners that beginning February 1st, the town will cease charging, because we're not paying, right?
No, we're waiving.
So we're gonna cease charging.
Would it be waiving or charging? What would be the word? Because what we do is we waive. We don't pay it, we waive it.
Should be waiving instead of.
Or so the town will waive the municipal portion.
Yeah.
Okay, so the town will waive the municipal portion of the taxes.
Will cease to waive.
Cease to waive.
We're not gonna do that.
Oh, we're not gonna do it anymore. Oh, that's what you're trying to say. Okay, sorry.
Waive it, not stop waiving it.
So what do we want? Because I'm really confused all of a
Well,
sudden.
we'll go over to the one that made the motion. What do you want to say? But that's a good question. It's not really clear,
We'll no
right?
longer waive that portion.
Right.
So you want to say that the town will no longer forgive?
Correct. That you're going to go through your insurance the town is still going to collect the tax dollars, but you're going to go through your insurance company to pay for it. We're not going to forgive it. Do you understand? Your insurance company covers your house for a whole year on taxes should it burn down or whatever, okay? So when it burns down, you go through your insurance company to pay the taxes to the town. So the town doesn't have to forgive that. That's income that we've been missing out on.
And then the next year it'd be reassessed as a vacant lot.
Or rebuilt or whatever, right.
So it's just that 1 year we're talking about,
No,
right?
it's the portion that it is burnt down.
The 1 year, one tax year we're talking about is what she's talking about. What that tax year particular, not one before or after, the year of the fire.
Right, correct.
Councillor Gilroy.
Okay. I'd like to just hear from our CAO the rationale behind this. And the other part is, I think in this motion, we probably need to discuss or actually detail how we would then advertise. Is it going to be on all social media? Is it going to be on our all tax forms? How is it going to be done? So
We'll advertise through the South Beach News also, the notice. And what we did is I received an email from a municipal advisor stating that it states in the MGA that portion of your taxes should be paid by your insurance company. So,
Councillor Sanos.
Actually, that email is in our package that states that it's covered through your insurance.
I'd just like to add, I talked with one of the insurance companies today and asked them if that is covered by insurance, and he said no. The insurance company said, no, we do not pay it. And what normally happens in most insurance policies, and he said it might be different with commercial properties, but with most residential insurance, homeowners insurance, if your house burns down, they'll cover you to live somewhere else while you were, so they cover your living expenses to live somewhere else, but they do not cover your taxes. And their thinking is that your taxes, I mean, you're living for free in your new location, so you should continue to pay your taxes. Why would you get to live for free in a new place, plus not have to pay your taxes, which was part of your expenses before? So you're almost getting paid twice if that was the scenario. So, and he hadn't ever heard of this, the MGA, and what the number that you had quoted, but according to him, he didn't think that insurance companies would cover the tax portion. So it's not going to get covered by insurance company, or not likely going to get covered by an insurance company. I just want to make sure that that's an update on that.
They didn't in the 2011 fire. They were still required to pay their taxes. And everyone was mad, and they went to Pearl Callahasson about it, and they went to Tyler Warren about that as well. Because you still own that property, and you don't get insurance on your taxes if your home burns down. You get content replacement, but it does not state anywhere in your insurance that they will pay your taxes, because you still would have to pay your taxes whether your house burned down or not.
And I think the other thing is, like, yeah, if they were rebuilding for you, they're putting you up in a place where you're living, but there is an expectation by the insurance companies that you will pay your taxes. Councillor Stenhouse.
So I'm gonna need some clarification from page 27 of this email, where it comes right from the MGA, and it says, the insurance will pay the taxes.
Pretty bold statement though, right? Because they're not the insurance company.
Except it also says the insurance company is only responsible for improvements as opposed to existing. Burning down your house, unless it's already condemned, is not really improving your land.
Well, I'm just telling you what the insurance companies say, and it is contrary to what's being stated in the MGA. And we also heard a story, a possibility that it wasn't covered in houses that burnt down in Slave Lake. So we have to, I think we can look at it that it's probably not going to be paid by the insurance company. So do we want to waive it or require them to pay it? They still have the property. The insurance company is paying wherever they go to live. They're going to get their house rebuilt, but they would still be responsible for their taxes. So that's really the question. Whether who pays it or not is, it's not likely going to be the insurance companies.
I'd like to retract my motion. Because I was going according to this email from that said that they would pay it. That's how I was.
So you're thinking you don't want the homeowner to be responsible for...
Well, I'd like to rethink it, yeah. That's how I would, because I was going right from this email.
So she's withdrawing the motion? So what do we do now?
We're withdrawing the motion. Okay, does anybody else want to make a motion regarding this? Do they feel strongly? Or do we want to bring it back after some more, bring it to as an action item for administration to look into it a little bit more and come back maybe with recommendations with what other communities are doing and handling it?
Maybe we should see, because ultimately, just thinking about what you said and what happened in Slave Lake, I mean, for the one-offs, it would be nice for the town to be able to forgive those taxes for that person that's just gone through that pain and suffering and dealing with all those other costs. I know that you have insurance and you're going to get paid, but there's a lot of loss for people that have lost their homes. But for an entire subdivision or an entire part of your town, that's a real challenge for your municipality to be able to afford that, right? To be able to, and you do have, whether you have insurances, whether you have the opportunity to rebuild. I mean, yeah, I think we do need to look at both of those scenarios and what the communities are doing in order to.
Do you have a motion there?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Okay. Well, and
Well,
that'll
make a
basically be, my motion will be to direct administration to further investigate the I don't want to say this particular action, but I can't say that. Have to be accurate. To investigate and come back with their opinion on whether or not the town should cease to waive municipal portion of taxes on destroyed properties. Is that clear as mud?
Makes sense. Come back with more information on who would have to pay that taxes or whether we want to waive them. Because I do think it should be a policy and clearly written so people know, and we could advertise it one way or another. And, okay.
And they can go to their insurance companies and make sure they have it or they don't have it.
Yeah, this is a big eye opener, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Moving on to waiving of basic utility costs. Councillor Rose?
That council received the request to waive basic monthly utility amounts on roll 341900 from September 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017 for information.
Okay, and we'll start with you and why you wanted to make that motion. How's that? Pressure's up.
Because you were looking for someone to make a motion.
Okay.
And nobody else has their hand up.
Okay. Sure, we'll start with
him.
Okay, I give council all a handout. There's 3 separate sheets of paper. The first one shows vacant residential property in town that we took the name of that out, and that property owner is paying the $82 a month for the basic fees. Number 2 is a typical residential property showing that the $81 is there, and then the dollar GST is included in the GST portion, the $471 on that one. And number 3 is a vacant commercial property in High Prairie that is paying $67.30, and the reason they're not paying the $82 is because the commercial properties have to look after their own garbage disposal. So the garbage portion is taken out of the vacant commercial property. So I just wanted to show council that we're treating all property owners the same, and until you have the gas capped off and the water capped off, you're charged the basic fees.
and that's been our historical practice
Yes.
also. Okay. Any other questions on this one? No? All right, well, we'll vote on it. All those in favor? Opposed? We have one missing, but did you catch when she left?
Yes.
She got, okay, good. All right, so moving on to one, we'll do one more and then we'll take a break. Yeah, we got lots to get through. Our request for funding from Lesser Slave Lake Watershed Council. Councillor Gilroy.
Okay, as the representative for the council on the Lesser Slave Lake watershed, I move that council, I'm stuck here because I have, I know what they're trying to do, and I know my commitment to them. So in essence, I do need to ask for approval for this. But I really want our council to really think about this can I say that properly? So,
To the town residents.
and so in this particular case, no, I can't make the motion then if it puts it that way. So
You don't want to make a motion?
I can't make the motion then. I can vote on it, but I can't make the motion. So,
Councillor Rose.
The council received Lesser Slave Lake Watershed Council's request for $5,000 contribution towards the Lesser Slave Lake Shoreline Habitat Assessment Project in 2018 as a partner for information.
And Councillor Gilroy.
I'll just explain this quickly for those who are listening. Yes, we have our packages here. But the idea here is that the Lesser Slave Watershed Council is undertaking a thorough examination of Lesser Slave Lake, all its partners, which includes Lesser Slave Lake, Slave Lake, the county around it, Swan Hills, basically all the partners that are involved in there. They haven't had a true mapping of the lake in about 20 odd years, and so they looked at all the companies that could possibly come do it. This is a very expensive project, which they are going for funding for, and it will be an aerial plus by boat thorough mapping of all the areas at risk to help all the communities that access the lake to have a better planning to protect endangered species, help with flood mitigation, and because of the way everything works in there. Basically, it's a project that they believe is very important for all the partners, and they're asking all the partners equally, even if they're not totally attached to the lake like we are. We are attached through the tributary rivers.
Any comments? Other comments on it?
That's what sort of I was going to ask, is how do we actually feel the residents of High Prairie are being affected? I mean, I know that, there's this partnership opportunity, right? But it is Lesser Slave Lake. I was curious whether or not there was anything, were they mapping the rivers or is it just really the shore? The shore.
It's mainly the shoreline, but the way that the Watershed Council brought it toward me is to say that a number of the residents are affected through their county residences as well. Some of the people have summer residences on by the lakeshore, and so that's how they believe that, one of the ways they believe we're affected by it, and that's why they're asking for this contribution.
Do we know whether every partner's been asked? So the county that's much more.
The county has been asked, and it was in the newspaper. I believe they rejected it, Chris, because it was in last week's newspaper.
They're not a part of it.
And were they only asked for 5,000 because of equal partners? Is that what they asked?
But it was a majority of their councillors who voted against it, but the people on the committee voted for it as representatives of the committee. That's why it's one of those challenges for those of us on the committee.
Is the county a member?
The county is a member. They have councillors. Is it Councillor Richard Samard? Is it? And before that, there was another councillor that was there earlier. But at the same time, in the next little while, we should be able to give you the work of the last 4 years once they get it finally passed by the executive.
No other comments on this one? Okay, we have a motion to receive it for information. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We'll take a 10-minute break, come back at 9 o'clock, and we'll keep moving.